Thank you very much, Peter. With regard to the situation on the Korean Peninsula, the United States is very concerned by the DPRK's August 4 violation of the Armistice Agreement, and we are monitoring the situation very closely. We are in close touch with our commanders and with our ROK ally, and the United States remains steadfast in its commitment to the defense of its allies and will continue to coordinate closely with the Republic of Korea. The DPRK's provocative actions heighten tensions, and we call on Pyongyang to refrain from actions and rhetoric that threaten regional peace and stability, and we are at one with our ROK ally on this. There's been a story out, I believe today, reporting the suspension of the exercise Ulchi Freedom Guardian. I just want to comment briefly on that. That exercise was suspended temporarily, I believe day before yesterday, in order to allow the U.S. side to coordinate with the ROK side on the actual exchange of artillery fire across the DMZ. That exercise has resumed as planned, and we are conducting the exercise as planned.
It's not a permanent halt. The story implies, can you a little bit more? This is a big deal.
As I said, we suspended part of the exercise temporarily in order to allow our side to coordinate with the ROK side on the subject of the exchange of artillery fire across the DMZ. And the exercise is being conducted now according to plan.
Can we just ask you to keep on this for a minute?
That's all I want to say on this subject.
Sir, I'm sorry, but I mean, you've raised this question, and this is worldwide news at the moment. Two things. Can you help us understand, since you've said it, what you mean by coordinating with the Republic of Korea on this, and are U.S. troops, irrespective of the exercise and whatever status they have in the exercise, are U.S. troops either on the peninsula, in the theater, at any higher state of alert, mobilization, warning, or readiness due to the situation on the peninsula?
Well, of course, we're always in close touch with our ROK allies on the situation on the peninsula, particularly in the wake of a provocation such as that committed by the DPRK in early August. U.S. forces went on an enhanced status as part of the exercise. They are remaining in an enhanced status as part of the exercise, and of course to ensure adequate deterrence on the peninsula.
What did you mean by coordination with the ROK on the exchange of artillery fire?
Well, when events like this take place, we talk to the ROK about to get the facts straight of what happened, and to discuss how we are going to respond. And that's all I want to say.
And my second question is, given that I understand you don't want to talk too much about Korea, unfortunately, that is the news of the day, and with your broad expertise on this, how do you interpret or believe the U.S. should interpret these latest moves by North Korea? Do you see this as any greater threat than similar threats of substantial force or war that they have done in the past? Is this anything new? Or
on your second question, I want to defer. I think I've said all I want to say on the subject of the Korean Peninsula.
Thank you. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un threatens military actions to South Korea, and he decided to put a time of 48 hours for deadline. It had declared war on South Korea in this regard. What is your countermeasures against North Korea?
Well, I've said, I think, all I wanted to say on the subject of the Korean Peninsula. I would just say that, again, that we're concerned by the situation. We're watching it very closely. We're staying in close touch with our ROK ally. And, of course, our commitment to the defense of the ROK is absolutely solid.
But this is not only for Ulchi effort, exercises. This is like a landmine. They put in landmine in the DMZ. But why you temporarily stopped?
Well, I've said that we suspended UFG temporarily in order to allow us to coordinate with the ROK side on the subject of the exchange of artillery fire over the DMZ. And the exercise we are now conducting the exercise as planned.
On the exercise, who specifically suspended the exercise? Was it the U.S., South Koreans, or was it a joint decision?
I believe our local commander has the authority to do that, and he did so in consultations with our ROK partners.
And the fact that the exercise has resumed, presumably today, I guess, although maybe we'll get back to us on that. The fact that it has resumed, is that an indication that the tensions that had been there for the past 48 hours or so are lessened today?
No, it means that we use these exercises to heighten readiness, and as a result of the fact that we are conducting this exercise, we are able to communicate and coordinate very efficiently with our ROK partners.
So it's not it's the resumption, again, because the exercise was suspended, you said, to coordinate with South Koreans. So the resumption is not, there was no, what was the
Yeah, I don't want to
impetus
get in,
for-
I don't want to parse, why and how we decided to resume that. I think I've said all I want to say on
Can I ask
that.
you just one other question on your statement about that it was resumed so that the U.S. could coordinate with the Republic of Korea? Well, I still don't quite understand what that means, to coordinate.
Well, it means for one thing, our commanders need to be briefed on the situation. We need to develop the information and brief our commanders, and they need to talk with their ROK counterparts to ensure that we have a mutual understanding of what the situation is, among other things.
I have two questions. One is for North Korea and another one is South China Sea. And as for North Korea, they are reportedly said to have been preparing to launch long-range missiles in conjunction with the 70th years anniversary of the creation of Workers' Parties of Korea. So do you have any assessment on the ground about to what extent North Korea has finished their preparation for the long-range missile launch? And
On your first question, in general, we're very concerned about the North Korean missile program and North Korean missile capabilities. And we are in constant touch with our ROK allies about the level of threat they pose. I'm not going to get into an assessment of the situation on the ground, but certainly, as I've said, we call upon North Korea to cease provocations across the DMZ and restore calm to the peninsula, and that covers the use of missiles.